welcome to whatever this time. This is my 1981 VW Rabbit. It has the 1.6 liter diesel in it. From what I understand, it has a blown head gasket. It's currently pumping a ton of exhaust gas into the coolant system to the point where it's blowing out of the front radiator tube. So today I'm going to be pulling the head off, checking the head gasket, and checking for cracks in the block. Okay, as you can see, I've already tore into this car a little bit previously to figure out what kind of head bolts it has. So to figure out the head bolts on these, you have to take off the valve cover. There's a lot of conflicting information online, but if you have Allen key head bolts, this is 11 millimeter head bolts. If you have triple square, you have triple square is an Allen key with 12 points basically, and you gotta get a specialized kit for that. They're not that expensive. You can pick them up at any Advanced. But the triple square, it's a 12 millimeter triple square, and to my knowledge, this is a 10 millimeter Allen. Dictates whether or not you have a 12 millimeter bolt or an 11 millimeter bolt. Allen equals 11 millimeter. Triple square equals 12. I had one of these before that was a triple square engine, and it used a 12 millimeter triple square. I do have, well, here. So there's almost no information online whether or not this is a 12 millimeter Allen or a 10 millimeter Allen. So I got a set here. It would appear it is a 10 millimeter Allen. So it's an 11 millimeter bolt, as in I'm quite certain that means the diameter of the bolt. So it's a 11 millimeter diameter bolt with a 10 millimeter Allen key head. And the 11 millimeter bolts are known for cracking the block. I'm very nervous about this one when I get everything tore apart on it, but I'm gonna go ahead and tear into it and hope that it's just the head gasket. Now, if it has a 12 millimeter triple square, then it's a 12 millimeter bolt, and those are more durable. They're slightly better, but they are not reusable. Supposedly these bolts are reusable, but I'm gonna go ahead and put APR head studs in this thing anyways. So with all that rambling out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and take the whole injector line set off of this, including the return lines. Now, these return lines, if they're old and brittle like these ones are probably gonna break. Now, there's a place called partsplace.com, as I'm pretty sure the name of it. It is a older Volkswagen parts distributor, and it's where I've gotten a lot of my parts before. They're a good place, they're good to deal with. You get a giant brochure of everything that they make whenever you buy something from them. And one thing that you're gonna need, and I'll demonstrate it later, is a spring tool for the style exhaust manifold that these have. It's a very weird setup. I've heard it be referred to as a toilet bowl manifold before. I don't know if that's its official name by any means, but what it's called, and to my knowledge, so it's what I call it, but it's basically a half sphere shoved into a concave half sphere that's held together with clamps, and there's like a fiber gasket in there. It's a very weird setup. I don't get why they did it that way, but it seems to help isolate vibrations from the exhaust. So maybe it does something. So these injector lines, very easy to take off. It's just 17 millimeter box end, or if you have some sort of special line tool, maybe there's something that you can slip on there to get better grip. But I've found at least that typically they're not super tight. They're just, and when you put them back on, you really only want to put them, the best way I can describe it is a grunt of torque. You don't want to over torque them by any means. You just want to get those off of there. Not get them off of there, I misspoke there. when you go to put them back on, you just want to snug them up. And because they're compression fitting, so they don't need to be torqued to the moon. Now this 1.6 liter got some mileage in different Volkswagen, being used by different Volkswagen models. This was available in the Rabbit, the Rabbit pickup, the Jetta. It was available in some of the Euro vans for a while, and there was so funnily enough, I never knew this until the other day. The Dodge Omni actually came for a very short period of time with a diesel option provided by Volkswagen. So if you happen to ever find somebody talking about, oh, I had a diesel Omni, they probably had this exact same engine shoved in there. Because Volkswagen and Dodge worked together on the Omnis. Now granted, they didn't share a single body panel with the Rabbits, but I like to imagine an Omni truck. Because it never existed, but it would have been funny. Who knows, maybe I'm gonna cut all this rambling out of here and cut to when I have these lines off. Actually, I made a cut right here. Yep, I'm going to do that. Okay, back. Got these lines off. So this is your injector lines. Actually, the one that I worked on before did not have this nice little keeper to hold them all together, and I just had to kind of guess where they went. But if yours doesn't have the keepers on it, it's very easy to tell. There's only one way each line can fit. There's no duplicates. There's no confusion. They just fit one way. So that is the injector line set off of there. Oh, sweet. So down here is your, it's literally just a copper strap that runs in between each glow plug. The only thing you have to unhook is this wire down here at the end. I don't know how easy that is to see, but there is a nut right there that you take off, and that wire slips off of there. So okay, it is an 8mm. Grab my bolster. Now, I heard about those through Junkyard Digs, and I absolutely love them. So I will highly recommend those to anybody looking for a good way to store bolts during a project. It's definitely better than a cut open Baja can. But yeah, so that little nut comes off there. Like so. And then I'm going to put the nut back on so I don't lose it. Okay, two things real quick. So I've marked the left one here with a plus, and I've taken a picture of this as well. The left one with a plus, and the right one with nothing. Well, dang, I think that just pulled out of there because that's all corroded. Well, that probably didn't work anyways. I'll probably get a new temperature sensor then. And I also figured out over here, well, at least I think that's what that is. Over here, I figured out that this can just be taken off with two 10 mils, so I'm going to go ahead and just pop that off so I don't have to move any wires. Okay, so I was able to get one of the coolant passages off over there. Was able to get these wires off, even though they broke, but that's a problem for later me. This is already, I guess I should take that one off too. So that one will get done. Either way, so this being a factory AC car, which I have no idea if it works or not, has two accessory belts. There's one that runs from the main pulley to what I think is maybe a power steering pump. I don't know if this one has power steering or not, to the AC compressor here. And then there's another smaller that goes to the alternate that I took off already. Okay, so it is a 17 millimeter right here that you loosen up. And then there's also another 17 millimeter over here. That, as long as I'm not spinning both sides, should be. And I am spinning both sides, so. I was able to get the one side loosened up, but the other one seems that it wants to spin. So let me see if I can get a wrench on that from the bottom. Okay, I'm sure somebody is screaming at me right now that there's an easier way to do this, but I have no front grille on this thing right now, so I was able to get a wrench in through there, and now I am able to spin that bolt off. Now I'm not going to take it all the way off because I just want to loosen up enough to get that to spin. Now I should be able to. Now I was wrong. It's not a power steering pump. It is a water pump. And I forgot about that. That's how that was on my other one. So I should be able to take that bolt there loose, and that should let that. Or wait, is there a top bolt? Yeah, there's a top bolt. Either way, somehow it should be able to swing, and I should be able to get that belt off. And I will be back when it is off. Okay, so I got the accessory belt out. That was a bit of a struggle for no reason at all. I ended up taking the water pump pulley off. It's just three 13 millimeter bolts, and that popped right off. But either way, that now should allow us to, my flashlight, these may actually be 13s as well. Yes, they are. So I will be right back. Okay, so here's what I found out. So that notch there, if it wants to focus, has to be flat. There is a, and I don't know how hard that's going to be to see, but there is a notch in the tooth of the pump gear, or yeah, I guess it would be considered a gear. There's a notch down there in the pump body. Those have to be lined up. That has to be lined up, and I'm not too sure down here if that means anything as far as that little nub that's on there, but it is pointing that way. So I'm gonna find a way to mark that on the belt. Probably dab it with some paint, but other than that, and I'm also gonna dab this with some paint and dab that with some paint, and I'm going to find a piece of metal that should be able to wedge in there, because they sell block-off plates that go right in there, but if I can just stop that from spinning, then everything should be good to go. Okay, so I got this plate in here, which should stay in there, keep the cam from moving. I've got, there's my flashlight. I've got in here, that one marked, and I don't know if you probably can't see it, but I guess I'll go down here. That one marked. So they're all marked, so I should be able to release this tensioner here. So that is, if I remember correctly from when I did mine, not a 14 mil. Doubt it's a 17 millimeter, but I can try it real quick. Yep, too big. Okay. 15. 15 feels awfully loose. Maybe I just misguessed the 14. Oop. Nope, it is a 15. Okay. So, this bolt comes loose, and this was effectively a cam lobe in it, that when it spins out of the way, it takes tension off of this belt. And honestly, the easiest way to remove the timing belt without moving around everything is to just take the tensioner off entirely. Now, I don't know if I've said this already, but I do not claim to be proficient in doing timing on these, so I'm not going to sit here and claim that I know everything there is to know about these engines. All I do know is that they can be temperamental. So after I get it all put back together, I'm going to want to make sure to spin everything over multiple times to make sure that I actually got it in time correctly. And I do that with every engine that I time, but this is definitely one of those ones that you want to make sure that they are 100% in time. Now there is also that roller there. Maybe that does have to come out. That is a 17 by the seams of it. No, it's actually bigger. I'll be back. I'm going to grab my 19. Okay, so got my 19 millimeter. Okay, noted. That apparently is a pump to something. It's an untimed pump, so it will spin around like that. So back to how I was doing it, I guess. Okay, so got the timing belt off. It's sitting over there. It's got all its marks. The marks on the gears survived. This is the tool for taking those exhaust manifolds that I was talking about apart. So these hook into those spring clips. This gets tightened down and it splays those open. So I have no good way of showing it besides you can kind of see one on the side here, and then there's another one over here. I'm going to take those off. I'm sure there's videos out there on how to do it and that you can see it. I'm not going to try to make one. Okay, got that second spring clip off, and now I am ready to take head bolts out. So they should not be. Oh, dang, that is loose. So it doesn't matter a huge amount about your sequence. Okay, that one wasn't as loose. It doesn't matter so much your sequence on taking head bolts off, but especially not any certain force by any means. But it is nicer on heads to take them off in some form of pattern that evenly releases the tension. After that, you can just, especially on your first breaking them loose, it's not good to just take like each bolt out as you go. Ugh. Then you run the risk by the time you get to the last one, you've either warped your head or it's so tight that it's going to snap. From here, though, all of these should be loose to the point where I can just spin them out by hand. So I will not be reusing these head bolts because I have plans to put APR head studs in them. And I'll put the part number up, or show you the part number when I get them in, because there is a specific part number that you have to use for these 11mm engines. And it's actually the same head studs that you would use in the gas 1.7 liters, because they used basically the exact same bolts. From what I understand, they're interchangeable, but I'm personally going to go with head studs because that's what I did in the last one of these I built. And I'm just trying to find a place to put these since they're so greasy. I guess oily would be the right word for it. There is also washers underneath each one of these that I'll pull out here in a second, but ugh. Oh, did I not break that one loose? Thought I got all of them, apparently not. So honestly, I'm pretty nervous after that first one was just straight up loose, because that's making me think that this engine was not put together 100% correctly, and that may have been why it blew the head gasket. But I'm still just hoping that it's just the head gasket and that the block is not cracked. Awfully short. I could have swore the ones that I used in the other one were longer. They're just absolutely chocked with carbon as well, which definitely indicates along the lines of head gasket being popped. Well, that one is not broken. Okay, so yep, it's free. So yeah, I'd say that's safe to say that one's blown. But yeah, so that would be why there's so much exhaust gas pressure going into the coolant system. So this is what's known as, if I can get it cleaned up here, as a 2-notch. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's 2 notches in that head gasket. So there is a 1, a 2, and a 3-notch head gasket. They came from the factory like that, and it's different thicknesses. You want to go with what it came from the factory unless you are refinishing the head or the block, or both, right? I mean, typically you do both, but whew, man, that head was heavy and is leaking oil all over my table. But other than that, that's gonna do it for today. Today I'm gonna order parts, get everything ready. This couldn't have gone any better. I was really thinking that it had a head, that maybe the block was cracked, but This is good news, and I should be able to get this thing back on the road. Okay, we are back working on the Mk1. So I have my package from Summit Racing and Parts Place Inc. From Summit Racing, I have my ARP head studs. So this kit is for the 1.8 liter 8 valve engines, but the 204-4701s will work in the 11 millimeter and 11 millimeter blocks and heads. It's weird, but that is the exact stud kit that the forums call for this engine. And then I have here the spray paints just to cover up my address and stuff. A full gasket kit. From the nice folks over at Parts Place Inc. They're a Michigan-based company. They have basically anything that you would ever need for any older Volkswagen and most TDI parts. I don't know how new they go as far as their TDI parts, but that is my full gasket set, head gasket, and the gasket kit comes with a exhaust manifold gasket. So I think nope, we're good. So I clicked something on the camera. Either way, today plan is to get the head put back on the engine, torque everything down, hopefully get timing belt and everything put back together, and it should be good to go. Now, there is going to be some cleanup work on this head, but nothing too serious, just because it really is not that bad. But other than that, the first thing that I have to do is, since I'm switching over to head studs, I have to take the exhaust and intake manifold off the block. So I'm going to get everything switched around, and then I'll cut back. Okay, real quick. I was able to get the exhaust manifold off. So there is a 13 millimeter bolt on this stud that holds onto this plate that sits right here. I believe there's also supposed to be a bolt that goes into the intake manifold, but mine did not have one. These are all, I don't want to, 6 millimeter Allen keys, but this one here stripped out, so I'm gonna have to extract that one out somehow. But actually, I don't really know if that's all that easy to see up in there, but basically these are all 6 millimeter Allens, and then this one here stripped out, so I'm gonna have to get that taken out somehow. I think I'm just gonna have to beat a bigger Allen key into it, and it should come out then. But I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so what I ended up doing was beating one of these little, I would have to assume those are 1/4 inch drive, little sockets in, and it was a 6 millimeter, so I was able to use the same Allen key that I used to take these out. But I just beat that in backwards and was able to spin it out. I'm honestly just going to use that to put it back together, and that'll be a problem if I ever have to tear this thing apart again. So, since we have a full gasket kit, I'm going to just peel these off one by one, and then well, maybe. There we go. Slice the new gasket kit open. Is that the intake manifold? It is, but I don't know what that little bump out is. That must be for something this engine doesn't have. So, looks like we're going to be reusing that one on the intake manifold. Or wait. Oh, no, that's the... Here's the correct one. Okay. There might just be two different kinds. But either way. There's that. Here's our exhaust manifold gaskets. I'm getting a phone call, so I'm going to answer that real quick. Gosh, I just love spam calls. Wonderful waste of time. So, is there any difference to these? Just want to make sure. So, wait, hold so no, they are all the same, it appears. So, just put them back on one for one. And if for whatever reason you're using this as a tutorial to rebuild one of these, the gasket kit is, there's the part number, a 1086. Yeah, there's all the information on it. And then the head gasket, there is the part number there. And then I already said the head stud part number because that is important. Now there is a stud set for the 12mm engines, and that's what I bought from ARP as well the last time that I rebuilt one of these. And it served me well for the time that I owned that car. I got rid of it. Still regret getting rid of it. That thing had 445,000 original miles on it. But you win some, you lose some, I guess. So, now some of these I am not going to be using because some of them are specific to on what you are doing, but this is a pretty comprehensive gasket kit if you want to get into, I believe that seal is for the front here, and then I believe those are injector seals. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. That may be... I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'm not too worried about it. And then these are for the ports, front and rear, and some different crush washers and such. The biggest one I need is the valve cover and then the exhaust and intake manifold gaskets. Okay, back. So these are my ARP head studs. Now I can't remember, I think I might have called them APR head studs in the first half of this video, I guess I'll call it. But like I said, that's your part number. The cheapest I was able to find them is actually on Summit. But what is this? Warnings and such that, yay, ARP sticker. I'll put that with my Summit Racing sticker. Wherever I put that. You will go there for now. So there's our washers, there's our nuts, and here is our head studs. And as you can see, there they are. They are the same length, well, roughly, but they are the correct length for torquing this thing down onto this block. So I have a scraper inside that I'm gonna have to go get, but I'm going to just roughly scrape off any kind of debris that is on this block, and then we'll be good to go ahead and throw those studs in. Okay, back. So all I'm gonna do is take this little scraper and then just clean the surface of the block very lightly. I'm not going for a perfect machine finish by any means, because I just can't achieve that with just a scraper. But at the very least, get this old gasket material that's fused to the blocking areas off, get everything cleaned up, because I did have that gasket blowout over here. Huh. You know, that's thread material. Huh. Hold on a second. Huh. Does that mean that this was stripped out at some point, or no, that's threading in okay. Okay, well, there's about to be a train coming by, so it's going to be kind of loud here for a little bit, but I will get to scraping this and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, got it all scraped and blew the holes out, so all the moisture's out of them. I did realize that this one that was the problem before seems to have some possible thread issues. Grab my flashlight. So I don't know how easy that is to see, but all of these have threads coming up to the top. This one only has threads down at the bottom. So at this rate, I'm gonna just see what happens. For all I know, when I go to torque that, I could just pull the bolt straight out of the block and we'll be in the same boat that we started with. But if that's not the case, should torque up fine and should be okay. There's a lot of should, maybe, sortas in that statement, but I'm working with what I have here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get all of my studs put in. If I remember correctly, they want you to put that on the threads before. I'll put the instructions here somewhere. Okay, no, it just wants lubricant on the top. So these are supposed to go in hand tight. So I guess I will see how this one threads in. Seems to be doing fine. Okay, so I'm gonna get these all threaded in and then pop a head gasket on it and should be able to drop the block, oh my goodness, drop the head down on top. Okay, so I have tried a couple different times to get these head studs put in. It says to run a chase on them. I don't know where I could even get a chase for these, but then I remembered, I can't remember where I saw it at. There's a non-zero chance it was a Junkyard Diggs video, because I watch a lot of his stuff. But if you cut a slot, and you can actually see I ran this one down that channel, these were just bottoming out. But you can see here, I got all that carbon into this channel. If you take something like, well, any kind of cutting wheel, but this is what I used, was a little 3-inch cutting wheel, and cut a channel into your bolt. and then all you into one of your original head bolts if you're planning on replacing them, which typically if it's a head bolt engine, they're meant to be replaced, or if you're going to be putting head studs in something, then you got a whole bunch of head bolts laying around. So you cut a channel in one of your head bolts. You know, the reason I'm using the ratchet is because it's just easier to thread in. But you take and run it all the way down, back it out a little bit, run it in again, and that's bottomed out now. So if I now thread this back out, there should be big gob of carbon in that channel there that I cut, and I should be able to despite my hands being all oily and not really wanting to grip onto anything, should be able to thread it all the way down to the block. Just like that, 2 head studs in. So now I'm gonna use my new chase and chase all these holes, and then I'll throw the head bolts in and then I'll be back. Okay, so after using this first bolt as a chase, I was able to get them all cleaned up besides this one. This one did not want to clean up to save its life for some reason. So I ended up making another one. Might as well just call me a machinist with that. So this is very lame. My GoPro battery decided to stop working, so I have wired mode, I guess. This is all I'm doing for tonight. I dropped down all the washers onto all the head studs here. I'm gonna figure out my GoPro, or maybe be going and buying a new one. Don't know. But that's not tonight's problem. So all I'm gonna do off camera is I'm gonna put the nuts on all the studs, and then I'm gonna throw the blanket over top of it and call it a night. So that's about it. Okay, so we're back after about a week. I can't remember where I left off, but the head is on. My camera batteries are junk, so I'm having to run this wired. I'm gonna be getting a new camera because this is getting old. So I'm gonna be torquing the nuts down to 80 foot-pounds and 3 equal steps, so that's gonna equate out to it's gonna equate out to 26 foot-pounds, 52 foot-pounds, and then finally 80 foot-pounds. I'm still nervous about this one here, but I'm gonna go ahead and lube up all the nuts, put them on, and see what happens. Okay, so I'm gonna start off by using, well, apparently I can just use the extension. You can see that, right? Yep. Okay. So to get everything snugged up, I'm gonna do it in order as well. So the order is center bolt front, center bolt rear, right of center front, left of center back, left of center front, right of center rear, far front, far left front, and then far right rear, yeah, and then far right front, and then far left rear is the sequence for that. And then I'm gonna go grab my torque wrench. Which is set to 26 foot-pounds. I'm going to do the torque order. Now, since I'm using such a big torque wrench, the click is going to be very faint at 26. And your goal is to ratchet as little as possible when you're actually putting torque on things. Should be just a nice gentle sweep. And there's the first torque done. So my next torque spec is going to be 52. Okay. Oops. So same pattern as the first torque. Once again, like I said, it should be a nice smooth sweep. Whew, this one's got me nervous. Well, it took, what was this one, 52? Yeah, it took 52 foot-pounds. See if she'll make it to 80. Okay, this one's for all the marbles. Okay. Oop, front one first. I keep forgetting that. Okay. Nice positive click out of that one. Okay, it's that one with the goobered up thread, so it's either gonna hold or pull out. Oh my goodness. There goes my starting fluid. Okay, it's all torqued. And of course, I want to back off my torque wrench so I can store it, but other than that, it's all torqued down, so now it's just putting everything else back together. Okay, so I'm not even gonna pretend like that was the right way of doing that, but the timing belt is now back on. So next thing to do is get the manifolds on the back, mount all my accessories back on the front, all these random coolant tubes and such, and then it'll be time to flush out the coolant system because it was full of soot from the, sorry, that took a lot of effort to get that thing on there, but it's all good to go now. So I'm gonna cut those zip ties because I had to, so I'll kind of explain what I did. I don't think it was the correct thing to do at all, but I marked all the spots. I got this one lined up first, zip tied it to that gear, went down to the bottom, got that looped up, and then got all my slack right here and was able to just slip it over the gear, and then, of course, torque the tensioner that's, I don't know how, this tensioner here. Got that tightened down, so now there's no slack left in that. Well, there's a little bit, but there's going to be with a timing belt engine. So that's all that done, and should be good to throw all the accessories back on. Got the exhaust manifold all attached. I got the spring clamps on both sides. I think you can kind of see it down there. That little shiny bit is the new fiber gasket into the downpipe. So basically, that gasket looks like this. I think I showed it earlier, but it gets pressed up onto the bottom of the manifold. Without doing that, then you can't get the downpipe aligned quite right, and it won't actually go up on there. You have to hammer it up on there or press it up on there somehow. If you do it before you put it down in there, like I forgot to do, it's a lot easier, but I had to just kind of beat on it with a hammer to get it to seat up where it needed to go. So next is going to be the intake manifold, and then I'll get the, what all did I take out the front here? The alternator and, what else did I? Yeah, alternator, one of the pulleys I took off, and I think that's it on the front there. And then the injector line set. This is going to go back onto there. I think I have a new gasket for that, and then all my coolant lines. So unless something interesting happens, I'm just going to be doing the reverse of what I did the other day to take everything apart. Okay, so you come back after I've gotten a good majority of everything done here, but so the alternator's on, the accessory belts are on, I got all this put back together. So I'm doing right now is plumbing in these return lines. So what I got here, and I feel like that's going to be almost impossible to read, but this is from Advanced Auto Parts. This is GL081423 IRX 0746. Now I don't know which of those numbers matter, but that is the hosing that I used on the last one that I did, and it never leaked for me. This is actually vacuum line, but it never leaked for me, and I know that there's specific stuff for this, but I've never gotten it. I've just used this stuff, and it seems to work perfectly fine. But basically all you do is, so this is, you go from this to this one, and you go from top port to bottom port, top port to bottom port, top port to bottom port, and then the top port comes over here to this main one here on the banjo bolt. This hose just broke apart on me, but that is the main return line there, and I'm gonna have to find a way so that doesn't leak. But this is very low pressure stuff, so it's not a huge deal if it's not clamped or anything like that. I've never seen any of them clamped, but all you gotta do, and I'm sure it's gonna be almost impossible to see, but you just well, if it wanted to, but basically you just shove the hose line down on these little nubs here, and then you loop it and you cut it, loop it and you cut it, and do that for all of them. You need about, I got 4 foot, and I think that's about going to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give it a small whiff of starting fluid and see if I can't get it to get spun over fast enough to prime the injection pump. Give it another whiff. So all I'm doing here is cracking each injector line, and I'm gonna go turn it over a couple times because I got fuel on one of them now. So turn it over a couple times, and I should be able to get it to go. Okay. So each of the tops of the injectors here are now wet. So that means that fuel has pumped to them, and I can tighten back down the lines. Okay, so I think what I need to do here is prime this a little bit better. Okay, so I guess I'll show this real quick. So all I did there was took and pulled vacuum on that. Now I'm noticing that this thing has red fuel in it, so I think somebody was running a little ag diesel in this thing. So all that means is that I'm gonna have to replace this tank before I can drive it on the road long term. So there's that, and let's see if that wants to start now. Oh man. That may have been too much. Well, it runs. Just gonna make sure these are all tight. Yeah, that is burning my eyeballs. Okay, I'll be back when the smoke clears. Okay, so that's where I'm going to be leaving this video. It drove itself out of the shop. It sits there and idles. It doesn't run amazing right now, but I have a feeling it's a lot to do with there's a lot of air still in the system. I'm going to be getting underneath it and checking all the fuel lines and everything. And I'll probably be doing that in a part 2 where I get tires for it and run it on down the road. Thanks for watching, and that's about all.